Welcome to He versus She. I'm Aria, and today we are embarking on a journey into the heart of English linguistic confusion.
And I'm Leo. Today, we are walking into what I like to call the final boss of English grammar. We are tackling the verb pair that makes even English professors sweat. I am talking about the absolute nightmare of lay versus lie.
You know, Leo, I was listening to a very famous song on the radio this morning. I won't name names, but the singer belted out, "Lay across my big brass bed." And all I could think was, unless you're placing a blanket on that bed, you are singing a lie.
That's the classic pop culture curse, Aria. Songwriters and novelists have been getting this wrong for centuries because, frankly, lay sounds more active, more rhythmic. But in a professional setting, say an interior designer presenting to a wealthy client in New York or a lawyer giving a deposition in London, confusing these two doesn't just sound like a stylistic choice, it sounds like a lack of precision.
It really does. I remember a friend of mine, a high-end real estate agent, who once told a client, "Please lay down on the sofa and imagine this is your home." The client happened to be a retired linguistics professor. He looked at her and said, "Lay what down? My briefcase, my coat?"
Ouch! That is the perfect example of why this distinction matters. The psychology here is about intent and object. When you use the wrong word, you are essentially telling your listener that you don't understand the relationship between a person and the physical world around them.
And that's what we're here to fix today. We aren't just giving you a rule to memorize. We're going to teach you how to feel the difference between an action you do to yourself and an action you do to something else.
This isn't just a grammar lesson. This is about developing the native ear that separates the advanced speakers from the true masters. Let's dive into the foundations of this maze.
Okay, Leo, let's bring it down to the most basic level before we get into the messy past tenses. Give us the golden rule that every listener should have tattooed on their brain.
Here it is. Lay requires an object. Always. Lie does not. In linguistics, we call this transitivity. Lay is transitive. It's an action that travels from you to something else. You lay a book on the table. You lay the baby in the crib. You lay a hand on someone's shoulder.
So there always has to be a what. If I say, "I'm going to lay," the immediate question in the listener's mind should be, "Lay what?" If I'm not putting an object down, I simply cannot use that word.
Exactly. If there is no what, you cannot use lay. That brings us to lie. Lie is intransitive. It stays with you. It describes a state of rest. You lie down on the bed. The cat lies on the rug. The town lies in the valley. Nothing is being moved or placed. Things are just resting.
I think the confusion comes because both words involve a horizontal position, but I like to think of it as effort versus rest. Lay takes effort because you are handling an object. Lie is the absence of effort because you are relaxing.
That is a fantastic way to visualize it, Aria. Effort versus rest. Let's test that with a real-life scenario. Imagine you're at a high-end spa in Toronto. The therapist says, "Please lie on your stomach." That is correct because she wants you to rest. But if she says, "Please lay the towel on the table," she is asking you to perform an action on an object, the towel.
Right. But here's where the advanced learner trap is set, Leo. People hear "lay down" in movies all the time. Why do we hear "lay down" so often if it's grammatically incorrect?
Two reasons. One is sheer laziness in casual speech. The other is a very old confusion between the words that is seeped into the dialect. But notice this. In a professional interview, if you say, "I need to lay down because I'm tired," a recruiter might not correct you, but their subconscious brain will register it as a non-native or unpolished error.
It's like wearing a tuxedo with dirty shoes. It ruins the whole look. I once had a colleague who was an absolute genius in data science, but every time he said, "I'm going to go lay down for a bit," the senior partners looked at him differently. It was unfair, but it was reality.
It is reality. Precision in language reflects precision in thinking.
If you can't distinguish between your own body and the objects you handle, people start to question your overall attention to detail. So, to summarize the present tense, emphasized lay needs a thing. Lie is for you.
Simple enough, right? As our listeners know, though, English is never that kind. We haven't even touched the past tense yet, Leo, and that's where the real chaos begins.
Oh, the past tense. Imagine a world where the word for yesterday is the same word for tomorrow. That is what happens with lay and lie. It's a grammatical car crash waiting to happen.
Oh, I can feel the tension rising. When we come back, we're going into the belly of the beast. We'll explain why the past tense of lie is actually lay. Yes, you heard that right. We are going into the deep dive, the US versus UK divide, and the most dangerous mistakes you can make. Don't go anywhere. Oh, Leo, this is where the engine starts to smoke. This is the part where most people just give up and hope no one notices their mistake. Because the past tense of lie, the word for resting, is actually lay, L-A-Y. It is identical to the present tense of the other verb. It's a grammatical trapdoor.
It's a linguistic disaster, frankly. Let's look at the matrix. For the verb lay, putting something down, the past tense is laid, L-A-I-D. Yesterday, I laid the documents on your desk. It still has an object, the documents. It's logical. It's consistent.
Right. Lay becomes laid. Easy enough. But then we have lie, resting. If I rested on the sofa yesterday, I have to say, yesterday I lay on the sofa. When I say that to my students, they look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. They say, but Aria, lay is what I do to a book. And I have to tell them, not yesterday, it isn't.
It creates a massive mental overlap. Your brain hears lay and it looks for an object. But in the past tense of lie, there is no object. I lay in bed until noon yesterday. If you say I laid in bed, you are telling a native speaker that you were placing yourself like a piece of furniture onto the mattress. It sounds incredibly clunky.
And then, Leo, just to make it even more painful, let's look at the past participle, the have form. For lay, it's still laid. I have laid the bricks. But for lie, it becomes lain, L-A-I-N. Honestly, when was the last time you heard someone say, I have lain here for hours?
Almost never. It sounds like something out of a Victorian novel, doesn't it? The princess has lain in the tower for a century. Because lain has almost disappeared from casual speech, people try to force laid into that spot. They say, I have laid here for a long time. But that is a total system failure in English grammar.
It's because we are desperate for a word that sounds right. Lain sounds too formal, lay sounds like the present tense, so we run to laid. But as advanced speakers, we have to embrace the awkwardness. We have to be brave enough to say, I lay in bed yesterday, and I have lain here too long.
Let's shift gears and cross borders. While the grammar books are the same in London and New York, the ears of the people are not. Aria, have you noticed how the British treat this differently than Americans?
Oh, definitely. In the UK, especially in certain regional dialects, the word lay is used almost universally for both. You'll hear someone in a pub in London say, I'm going to go and lay down. It's technically wrong, but it's so common in casual British English that it almost passes as a dialect choice.
True, but in the US and Canada, particularly in professional circles, there's a much harsher judgment. Seriously, if you're in a business meeting in Manhattan and you say, the problem lays in our strategy, instead of the problem lies in our strategy, it's a red flag. It suggests you aren't paying attention to the nuance.
That's a great example, Leo. The problem lies. In North America, we love that metaphorical use of lie. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. The beauty lies in the details. If you said the beauty lays in the details, an American would think the beauty is physically putting something down.
Exactly. And then we have the Canadian perspective, which often tries to be very proper. Canadians tend to be very aware of British rules, but influenced by American slang, so you'll find Canadians who are very strict about "I lie down," yet they might use laid in the past tense out of habit. Thoughtfully, it's a constant tug of war across the Atlantic.
The takeaway here for our listeners is know your audience. If you are in a high-stakes, formal environment in any of these countries, stick to the rules we are teaching you. It is the safest way to ensure your message isn't lost in a sea of grammar mistakes.
We are now entering the danger zone. These are the mistakes that don't just sound wrong, they actually change the meaning of your sentence in a way that can be, well, quite hilarious or embarrassing.
Oh, I have a favorite one. It's the chicken mistake. Many learners say, "I am laying in bed." Now, Leo, what is a chicken doing when it lays?
It's laying an egg, Aria. That is the core of the danger, because lay must have an object. If you say, "I am laying in bed," the only logical conclusion is that you were producing an egg. It sounds ridiculous to a native speaker's subconscious mind. You are lying in bed. Lying.
That is such a vivid image. I am lying in bed. And that brings us to another confusion, the double meaning of lie. To rest or to tell an untruth. I am lying in bed could mean I'm resting, or it could mean I'm telling a lie while I'm in bed. At least both are grammatically possible, unlike laying in bed.
Another trap is the word laid off. This is a huge one in the corporate world. You were laid off from your job. It's a passive structure. The company laid you out. They placed you outside the company. Thoughtfully, I've heard people say I was lied off, which would mean someone told a lie about you until you lost your job. Very different meaning.
Wow, that is a big one. And what about laying low? You hear that in every gangster movie. We need to lay low for a while. Is that correct, Leo?
Strictly speaking, no. It should be lie low, because you are the one resting or hiding. There is no object. But lay low has become such a common idiom that even some dictionaries accept it now. Seriously, however, if you want to sound truly elite, lie low is the superior choice.
It's about that native polish, isn't it? Using the rule when everyone else is being lazy. That is what defines an advanced speaker. You know the rules well enough to know when people are breaking them.
Precisely. We've untangled the past tense, we've mapped out the Atlantic divide, and we've avoided the chicken eggs in the danger zone. When we come back, we're going to look at the idioms that give these words their soul. And then, the final boss, our mega interactive quiz. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final stretch of our deep dive into the maze of lay and lie. Honestly, Leo, this is the part I love the most. This is where the grammar stops being a set of dry rules and starts being, well, poetry. The idioms are where these words really come to life.
You're absolutely right, Aria. Idioms are the true test of fluency. They are fixed expressions where you cannot just swap one word for the other without losing the entire meaning. Let's look at a classic one, to lay an egg. Now, in North America, if an actor or a sports team lays an egg, it doesn't mean they're being productive in a barn.
Definitely not. It means they failed miserably. It's a total flop. The new movie laid an egg at the box office. It's a harsh idiom, but notice the structure. Lay followed by the object, an egg. It follows our rules perfectly, even if the meaning is metaphorical.
Precisely. Now let's compare that to a lie idiom. How about to lie through your teeth? This has nothing to do with resting. This is about deception. He sat there and lied through his teeth about where he was last night. Notice there is no object. You aren't lying something through your teeth. You were just performing the action of lying.
I love that distinction. And here's one that causes a huge Atlantic divide, the lay of the land. Leo, I know you have some thoughts on this one.
Oh, I do. In the United States and Canada, we almost always say the lay of the land. It refers to the physical features of an area or the current situation. Before we start the project, let's get the lay of the land. But in UK, it's much more common to hear the lie of the land.
That is so interesting. So in Britain, they see the land as resting or lying there, while in America, we see it as how the land was laid or placed. It's the same concept, but a different philosophical perspective. But wait, we can't forget to lay down the law.
That's a powerful one. It means to tell people exactly what they must do in a very firm way. My boss really laid down the law about being late. Again, lay with an object, the law. It's about placing authority on the table.
And then we have the opposite, to let sleeping dogs lie. This is such a wise piece of advice. It means don't stir up trouble. Don't disturb a situation that is currently quiet. Notice it's lie, not lay. We want the dogs to stay in their state of rest. We don't want to lay them anywhere else. Okay, everyone, it's time for the final boss, the he versus she mega quiz. We have 7 very tricky questions that involve everything we've talked about: present tense, the nightmare past tense, and the idioms. I'll read the sentence, we'll give you a moment to think, and then Leo will break down the answer.
I'm ready. This is where we separate the advanced learners from the true masters. Listen to the context and look for the object. Professional.
Question 1. I was so tired after work that I blank down on the rug and fell asleep. Pause, pause, pause.
The answer is lay, L-A-Y. This is the past tense of the verb to lie. There's no object. I am the one resting. If you said laid, you'd be saying you put an object down.
Professional. Question 2. Please blank those heavy boxes near the door. Pause, pause, pause.
It's lay, L-A-Y. Present tense with a clear object. Those heavy boxes. You are placing them.
Professional. Question 3. How long has that old book blank on the shelf? Pause, pause, pause.
The correct word is lain, L-A-I-N. This is the past participle of lie. The book is in a state of rest. It sounds formal, but it is the only correct choice.
Professional. Question 4. He blank through his teeth during the entire interview. Pause, pause, pause.
It's lied, L-I-E-D. This is the past tense of lie, meaning to tell an untruth. Remember, this lie is regular, unlike the one for resting.
Professional. Question 5. The workers blank the foundation for the new building yesterday. Pause, pause, pause.
It's laid, L-A-I-D, past tense of lay. The object is the foundation.
Professional. Question 6. If you're feeling dizzy, you should go and blank down for a while. Pause, pause, pause.
It has to be lie, L-I-E, present tense intransitive. You are the one who needs to rest.
Professional. Question 7. Final and hardest one. By the time we arrived, the dog had already blank the bone in the garden. Pause, pause, pause.
The answer is laid, L-A-I-D, past participle of lay. The dog placed an object, the bone, in the garden.
Leo, I feel like we've just completed a marathon. We've gone from pop songs to chickens, from London pubs to Canadian forests. How do you feel about the maze of lay and lie now?
I feel that we've shown our listeners that grammar isn't about memorizing a list of rules. It's about understanding the world. Are you acting on the world, or are you just existing in it? When you master lay and lie, you master that distinction.
Well said. To our listeners, don't worry if you still find this challenging. Even native speakers have to stop and think about it. But now, you have the map to the maze.
Thank you for being with us on this deep dive. Remember, precision is the hallmark of a master. I'm Leo.
And I'm Aria. This is he versus she. One language, 2 perspectives, total mastery. We'll see you tomorrow for our next linguistic battle.